Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture of general medicine where I make a difficult, boring topic easy, interesting to learn. So let's get into the lecture for today, which is sickle cell anemia. And to teach that, I am going to refer to a resource which contains everything in an organized manner, and that is this Mind Maps book for general medicine by MediStudy Go. Because this book contains everything in pictorial representation, all the clinical features and pathophysiologic reactions. Alongside this, I'm going to be covering some questions and notes which are present on the app of MediStudy Go, which you can easily download from Play Store or App Store of the Android and the iOS phones. So let's get into the lecture for today. To start the topic of sickle cell anemia, the first and the foremost thing which we need to know is what is it and how to introduce the topic. So according to the introduction, which is written over here, sickle cell anemia is when there is mutation in the HBB gene encoding the beta subunit of hemoglobin. So hemoglobin has 2 alpha and 2 beta chains. If there is decoding issue in the beta chain of the hemoglobin, it leads to sickle cell anemia because somehow these 2 chains are going to form correct hemoglobin structure and correct RBC structure. If some decoding is happening over here or over here, it is going to lead to deranged structure of RBC, which leads to a characteristic shape that is the sickle cells in the sickle cell anemia. So it is an autosomal recessive inheritance, that is, it is hereditary in its origin. Also, there is a sickle cell trait, which is a type of sickle cell anemia, but it is usually asymptomatic and only one gene is affected instead of both the genes of beta chain. Sickle cell disease is when both the chains are affected and both the genes get affected. So this will be more severe, whereas the sickle cell trait will be less severe and asymptomatic. What can be the precipitating factors to increase the disturbance in the body which is present for sickle cell anemia patients? So there are some precipitating features like hypoxia, acidosis, dehydration. These are all basically stressful situations for the body wherein more blood circulation is required so that oxygen can be carried away correctly. Now, if in the stressful situations, oxygen demand increases, the blood flow has to be increased to certain areas. If that doesn't happen and if the cell is not of the correct space and correct size, it is going to get stuck in the vessels and that is going to lead to blockage of the blood circulation, leading to the excess of stress. So this is how the precipitating factors are going to increase the precipitating reasons to let the cells convert into sickle cells and thereby leading to a deranged blood circulation. Other features which can be precipitating factors are like cold temperatures, wherein more oxygen demand is present for the extremities, infections like malaria and pneumonia, high altitudes wherein again the oxygen is less and the body has to work more, medications and sometimes stress. So all of these conditions might need excess blood supply for the oxygen demand to be met, wherein the sickle cell anemia factor and the symptoms get aggravated. After we know what the disease is looking like and why is it happening, we need to know how the disease actually progresses, what leads to what step, and how sickling actually happens. So to learn for the pathophysiology, I have this flowchart over here completely organized in a good way so that you can remember it easily, wherein the first step explains how glutamic acid gets substituted by valine. So there is glutamic acid to valine substitution at the 6th position of the beta globin chain. Now this is a beta globin chain wherein proline, valine, glutamic acid are present. This glutamic acid will get represented by the valine and therefore the structure will change. So obviously a cell which had to get formed like this will now form like this. So the shape changes. This leads to molecules of hemoglobin begin to polymerize and they form pseudocrystalline structures, which is often reversible in nature. But the formation of characteristic sickle-shaped cells happen when the stressful condition stays and persists. So the often reversible situation becomes irreversible in nature and the cells lose its shape. This leads to repeated sickling, which distorts the membrane, causing the red cell intravascular hemolysis. Because now if the cell was going, there were many round cells which were flowing. Now sickling has happened. So in the blood vessels, there are going to be many sickle-shaped cells. So the body is going to think that these cells are causing the problem and the body will start killing them. So intravascular, which is inside the vessel, cells are going to be killed, which is known as hemolysis. So red cell intravascular hemolysis is going to happen. And what also happens is that in the alpha globin chain, the mutation happens in the HBG gene in the beta globin, and that leads to mishappening of the structure. So in cases when low oxygen is present and the body is in stressful situation, oxygenated erythrocytes decrease. This leads to excess polymerization of HbS hemoglobin instead of HbA and HbB. So this leads to ischemia and the stress, and deoxygenated erythrocytes increase in the quantity, which leads to sickle cell formation. And in the microcirculation, they can get blocked. They can lead to vaso-occlusive crisis because there is occlusion in the vessels, which leads to hypoxia, infarction, or necrosis of the vital organs because they're not getting enough blood supply. So this is how sickle cell anemia progresses and leads to certain clinical features and signs and symptoms, which we're going to study next. So what are the clinical features for a patient of sickle cell anemia? Firstly, there are going to be signs and symptoms of anemia, which includes fatigue, pallor, weakness, dyspnea. All of this is going to be present. Other than this, there is going to be shortness of breath, which is dyspnea. Recurrent infections will be present because blood supply is not enough. Splenomegaly, because spleen will think I am going to produce more cells, but actually it's not the spleen's issue. So there is going to be splenomegaly, and the body is going to reject the spleen itself. So there can be autosplenectomy also. And the splenomegaly also leads to an increased risk of infections. Also, jaundice can occur, kidney can damage, and the cells get occluded in the vessels, which can lead to a stroke in the brain. So this is how clinical features present due to the pathophysiologic reaction. If you understand the pathophysiology, you will be easily able to understand the clinical feature which will be presented, because almost all of it is connected to the pathophysiology. After we know the clinical features, we need to come to investigation for the patient and how we are going to come to a confirmatory diagnosis. So the investigation of choice is HPLC, which is high performance liquid chromatography. So herein all the hemoglobin forms, they are done on a chromatography paper. They are checked upon, and which quantity is more, which quantity is less, that is checked for. So this is clearly going to show that HbS is in high amount, which indicates the presence of sickle cell anemia. Similarly, HB electrophoresis is also similar. Here also HbS will be seen in more amount. CBC can be shown with peripheral smear being created, and that is going to show some sickle-shaped cells instead of the round RBCs. And lastly, we can perform a sickling test wherein the blood is exposed to less oxygen environment, which actually promotes the sickling to happen. So an increased amount of RBCs converting to sickle cells will indicate a positive reaction, and that the patient is a confirmed patient for sickle cell anemia. After we have diagnosed the patient, we need to come to the management or the treatment part. So to manage sickle cell anemia, the first and the foremost drug is hydroxyurea. This drug increases the gamma globin and HbF quantity, which is resistant to polymerization. So HbS is basically the polymerizable form of the hemoglobin, which polymerizes as and when ischemic stress is present. If this drug is given, it increases gamma globulin and HbF quantity, which doesn't polymerize. So if HbF will be there, HbS will be less and sickling will be decreased. And also the patient is advised for aggressive rehydration so that vaso-occlusive crisis can be reverted. Oxygen therapy is also given for supplemental oxygen demand. Adequate analgesia is given for the pain which can be there, and antibiotics to prevent any ongoing infection and also prevent future infections. Then timely immunization is done for all the gram-positive organisms which can lead to infections. Regular blood transfusion can be required so that the adequate amount of RBCs is given in the body, which are normal. So packed cell volume can also be given. And lastly, bone marrow transplant can be required in severe cases wherein the bone marrow is transplanted so that the cells and the hemoglobin structure, the genes which are getting affected in sickle cell anemia, they can be reverted. If all of this is not done and treatment is not carried out correctly, there can be certain complications for such patients. First is acute chest syndrome, wherein the patient is going to feel a lot of chest pain. Then there is going to be sequestration crisis, wherein spleen or liver can undergo sequestration and they can lead to the cell death. There can be bone necrosis and infarction because the blood supply is not normal. Then there can be coagulopathy, which is increased risk of both arterial and venous clots, which leads to stroke because these cells can get easily occluded in the vessels. There can be ophthalmic manifestations like vitreous hemorrhage, which is the blood getting collected in the eye, or retinal detachment because of the blood which gets connected. And lastly, there can be renal failure because these cells can get deposited in the basement membrane of the kidney, which leads to poor filtration and therefore multi-system organ failure can happen. So this is how you can wrap up the system for sickle cell anemia on 2 pages of mind maps, which is easily available in the book. Now, if you log on to the app of MediStudy Go and you go to the topic of sickle cell anemia, there are going to be these mind maps, but other than this, there are going to be some notes also, which are these. These are some beyond the mind maps notes. which contains several other features and several other pointers which are important from the perspective of NEET as well as university exam. For example, if I take out a section of this note, what are the key takeaways of this chapter or this topic? First is that it is a hemoglobinopathy. It can be classified as a blood disease of hemoglobinopathy wherein hemoglobin is deranged. Distribution in the world is African, Mediterranean, South Asian descent is present. Osmotic fragility is decreased because the target cells, they resist lysis. They usually are not undergoing lysis so easily as normal cells do. And lastly, clubbing is not a feature of sickle cell anemia, and this is how you can differentiate it from other types of anemia. So there are so many points like this one on the extra notes, which is the beyond the mind map notes available on the app of MediStudy Go. You can easily log on to it. It's free of cost. You get free coins, which will be 500 coins per person per login. And you can use those coins wherever you want to use it. And you can earn more in the app itself. Other than this, you can also solve some questions like MCQs and flashcards. We have so many MCQs and flashcards which you can answer directly from the mind map, which is the video right now. Or there are some other questions also which is beyond the mind map. Those you can cover up by reading the notes. So the questions I'm talking about are like this. What happens to RBCs in sickle cell anemia? So this is a flashcard, and what happens is that they become sickled and they polymerize because of polymerization of HbS. So this is how you can flip over the question and view the answer. And if you want to solve some MCQ questions from NEET point of view, they're also there in the app, which states a 20-year-old female came to the medical OPD with severe pain and redness over the dorsum of the foot. Past history of severe abdominal pain episodes were present. Peripheral smear showed anemia with presence of poikilocytes. Now, poikilocytes means there is some different shape of cell. So the likely diagnosis is hemoglobin C, thalassemia, G6PD, or sickle cell. Now, in hemoglobin C disease, it will not be there because hemoglobin C is a different type of factor which will be present. Thalassemia minor will also not show different shaped cells. G6PD deficiency will also not show the cells. So sickle cell anemia is the only option. And sometimes when we are solving such questions, it is important to go by exclusion criteria instead of what the answer is. So sickle cell anemia, the clinical features which match the case, they have been differentiated for all the options which are mentioned. So explanation like these are easily available on the app of MediStudy Go. Like we can see why it is not HBC, why not thalassemia minor, why it is sickle cell, and why it is not G6PD. You can view all these explanations, take a note of it, make a small notebook, and revise it over and over again. So this is how you can easily wrap up the topic. This is the app which I'm talking about, the MediStudy Go app available for iOS as well as Android users. And you must subscribe to the channel on YouTube to view such videos wherein you can wrap any topic for BDS subjects in under 15-20 minutes. You can take the help of the Mind Maps book and the app of MediStudy Go. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.